Lecture 13. Passing information, parameters and return values. In today's lecture, we will build on what you have already learned about methods by introducing two powerful features, parameters and return values. You will learn how to pass data into methods and how to make methods return results back to the part of the program that called them. These tools make your code more flexible, modular, and reusable, exactly what you want as your programs get more complex. Objectives of this lecture. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to define methods with parameters to accept input values, call methods using arguments that match those parameters, create methods that return a value instead of just printing output, capture and use returned values in your program, understand when to use void versus return types like int or string. Quick review. Why methods? For example, you just write a method in here as public static void and you just name it as greet user, and you just pass the parameters as string name, and you just write in here as system dot out dot println. You just want the phrase to be printed, then write hello and plus for concatenation and name with semicolon at the end. This method takes input but doesn't return anything. It simply prints a message. That's useful, but what if we want a method to give us something back, like a result we can use later? Part 1. Parameters. Sending information into methods. Let's say we want to write a method that multiplies two numbers. Here is how we define it with parameters. You can write here as public static void and for example multiply is the method name, and you just pass the parameters as int a and int b, and you just want to multiply them, so you will write int multiply or result is equal to a multiplied by b, and now you just want to print the result, so you will write system dot out dot println, and you just want to be printed as product equal to, you can write and concatenation plus sign and result, as we have used this in here, and semicolon at the end. Now from the main method we call it like this. In the main method we call it like this as multiply this method name and give the value as 4 and 5 with semicolon at the end. This sends the values 4 and 5 to the method, which stores them in a and b, multiplies them and prints a result. So when you run this program by clicking in here, okay, and it prints product is equal to 20. Parameters let you reuse the same method for different data, saving time and improving clarity. Part 2. Return values. Getting results from methods. So far, our methods have printed output directly. But what if we want to store the result and use it later? Here's how we can return a value. For that, you can just write a method as public static, but now we'll be using int instead of void, so we'll be using int, and add will be the method name and int a and int b, and you can write in here as return a plus b. Notice that we changed the return type from void to int, here you can see, and we use return to send our result back like in here. Now we can store the result when we call it. For that you can write in here as in the main function you will write int sum is equal to add, and you will just give the values as for example 7 and 3, and you can print that as well, like you can print as system dot out dot println, and you just want to print as sum is and concatenation plus, and you will write sum as a function name and with semicolon at the end. So when you just run this program, it displays the result as sum is 10, as 7 plus 3 is 10. This gives you more flexibility. You can use sum in more calculations or checks later in your program. Part 3. Comparing void versus return methods. Let's look at the difference. First of all, the return method that we have used already in here, it gives you control. You decide what to do with the result. Print it, store it, use it in another method, etc. But if we use void instead of the return method, you will have to write void in here and you will have to print by using this system dot out dot print ln, and you will write in here as a plus b with semicolon at the end. But if we have to use void method instead of return, so we'll have to change the int with void, and we'll have to remove this section as we don't need this, and we'll have to write a simple print method as system dot out dot print ln, and you just want to print as a plus b. But you will have to call the method as add and give two numbers as 3 and 6 for example, and semicolon at the end. And when you just run this program by clicking OK, it prints 9, or you can just give it as sum is, and plus and get continuation, and you just run this program and it says sum is 36. And when you just run this program in here by clicking OK, and it says sum is 9. The void method prints the result directly, here you can see, and it does not store anything. Part 4. Returning strings or other data types. Methods can return more than just numbers. For example, we have a method as public static, and we'll be using string instead of int or void as string, and you just name it as greet, and you just pass the parameter as string and name. And next we have to write, if we want to return the values, so we'll be using return, and you just want to return as welcome, and this one concatenation and name plus exclamation mark. For that we'll just write in here and semicolon. In main function we'll write, for example, string message is equal to greet and Alex, for example, and with semicolon, and you just want to print the message as system dot out dot print ln and message with semicolon at the end, with it should be in the double quotes, so the error has been removed. When you just run this code in here and click OK, it says welcome Alex as welcome as this one, and Alex this one. This keeps your method clean and reusable while giving you full control over how and when to display results. Part 5. Real example. Calculator with return values. Let's write a full example using return values. For example, you just write a method in here as public static, and we'll be using int as we want to subtract, so we'll be using subtract with parameters as int a and int b, and you just want to store the values, so we'll be using return a minus b. And now if you want to do this subtraction and print the results, so you can use in here as public, as we are using in the main section, we'll be using int result is equal to subtract a subtract, and now we'll be giving the values as, for example, 10 and 3 semicolon at the end. And now you just want to print the results as system dot out dot println, and you will write the result as result, and concatenation with result and semicolon at the end. Run this program by clicking here, okay, and it says result is 7, as 10 minus 3 is 7. You can also use this result in other calculations. For example, you can add int doubled is equal to result multiplied by 2, and print that system dot out dot println, and print doubled as, and plus sign for concatenation, and doubled with semicolon at the end. So when you just run this code, okay, and it says 7 is the result and 14 is doubled. For example, we just change the numbers as 15 and want to be subtract with 5, and run this code. It says result is 10 and double is 20, as it multiplied by 2 in here. This is how real programs work. They pass data around, return values from one method, and feed them into the next.